Hey, Warrior Saints, good morning. Happy Friday Crucifixional live stream. To all of our brothers and sisters in the Protestant and Roman Catholic churches, we wish you a blessed Good Friday. May our Lord's crucifixion always enlighten your lives. That being said, as we celebrate in the Orthodox Church, we still have a few weeks to go before we get to Holy Week and Pascha. We are always in celebration of the cross, and so it's a good day to talk about the cross of Christ and how to live a crucifixional life. What that means to be crucifixional: sacrifice my will for the will of God. That's exactly what Jesus Christ does and where Adam fails. And we are in the midst of the Warrior Saints Challenge, where we're trying to be crucifixional. The Warrior Saints Challenge is twofold. We want you to read a chapter of the book. You can get it at warriorsaints.org/book. Read any chapter and do your exercise and post on any one of our profiles. Let us know what you did, what you thought, what's happening in your life as far as being crucifixional yourself. Today, I ran 3.82 miles very slowly, but I got them done. And we are now going to talk about the cross of Christ, because it's Good Friday and it's the day that we celebrate the crucifixion of Christ in the West. For our Western Christians, we'll talk about it because we love to talk about the cross because it is life-giving. Now, it's an interesting story that culminates in the Gospel of John. So you all know the story, and there are different accounts in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. John has an interesting statement where after Jesus is brought out, so remember the juxtaposition of Adam and Christ, where Adam is revealed to us as Ha-Adam, the man. Yet he fails because he disobeys God's commandment. He doesn't do God's will. And yet Jesus Christ in his garden in Gethsemane says, "Nevertheless, Lord, not what I will, but what you will," and becomes victorious. He is captured, imprisoned, beaten by Pilate, and he is presented, therefore, then by Pilate on this platform to the people that says, "Behold the man." So you can see in Scripture Adam and Christ is the fulfillment of what God intended when he created human beings. Doing my will, says God. And Christ personifies that. He exemplifies that. That leads, therefore, to the cross. And as the story unfolds, there is a powerful moment in the Gospel of John. It's Jesus's final moment before his death. They bring him on a stick, like a long stick, a pole, whatever, with a sponge filled with vinegar, which is rotten to do to someone who's dying and thirsty. And he takes of the vinegar, and then it says, Christ said, "It is finished." And he bowed his head and gave up the spirit. What do you mean it's finished? I mean, it's over. When we use the word in English, finished, like I started a project, I did the work, and now I've finished it. It's over. It's done. I've gone to a movie, and the credits roll, or what do they call it? The advertisements they do at the beginning. What do they call those things? Come on, Greg. What do they call them? Anyways, the previews. Thank you. The previews. We call them previews, and then it gets through the film, and then the credits roll at the end. It's finished. All of that, is that what the word finished means? It does, but it's a little bit richer, a little bit deeper. In Greek, in the Gospel of John, the New Testament Greek, the word is telos, right? Telos. You would say in English, T-E-L-O-S, right? That's the root word telos. And it means complete. So something is finished in that it is completed. Yes, it's done. Yes, it's over. And yes, obviously Christ's suffering ended in that moment. But it's deeper than just being over. It is that it is complete. Does that make sense? So what Jesus is telling us in that moment, John is telling us that Christ does, is that on the cross, after all has been accomplished, he has decided in the Garden of Gethsemane to remove his will to do God's will, and then is willing to endure the cross to prove that it's complete. And in that moment, and this is what we celebrate on Holy Friday in the Orthodox Church for us a few more weeks, but for our Catholic and Protestant brothers and sisters today, they celebrate today. It is that the greatest of all the monsters, death, sin and death, the greatest monster is crushed, defeated. It is complete. Telos. The purpose of Christ's coming into the world is to save mankind. Now, let's not talk about salvation like I'm saved. You're saved from something, right? Like if there's no bad guy, if there's no monster, you don't need to be saved, right? And in this case, our case as human beings, the monster is sin and death. And Christ saves us from sin and death, destroying it. And he does so in a very particular manner, not with a sword, not with a huge army or a host of heavenly angels to come and strike down his enemies. He does so through the cross. And in that, when all has been completed, he says, it is finished, right? This is a powerful moment. It's beautiful to show us that God's MO, modus operandi, the way, the method, even those are lacking words, but the way that God conquers monsters, in our case, death, is through the cross, right? That's the beauty of the message. And there's something else to this, brothers and sisters. As we celebrate Good Friday, we rejoice and humble ourselves before Christ our God and his victorious death. We say in the Orthodox Church, trampling down death by death, right? We celebrate that. This is the moment, the day of salvation. It is the day that the possibility of life has been granted to us. It is also a day of reckoning for you and I, in the sense that he's calling you and I into action. He says, see this big monster, death? I took care of it. And if you would be with me, listen to this. Now you're going to hear from Mark chapter 8. Even before he goes to the cross, he knew what was coming, and he's already calling us into action. If you would be with me, you have to deny yourself, right? Deny your own fears, your own ego, your own desires, your own arrogance. Take up your own cross and follow me, right? Powerful words, powerful statement in that he has shown us, I got it. The biggest monster that you can't beat, I got it. And I'm going to do it through the cross. You want to be with me? Like, in other words, you want to go through this whole process and end in the empty tomb? Great. I'd love it. I'm inviting you to follow me. I'm calling you to follow me. Excuse me. But you got to deny yourself, take up your own cross and follow. And the way that happens, brothers and sisters, the way that happens is that we live a crucifixional life. So now think about it in terms of our own life, our own lives, the monsters that you and I face. I mean, we don't think of them necessarily as like these mythic, magical beasts that you might read in a Tolkien novel, but they're just as real. The monsters that you and I face are just as real. Some of us may feel like there are depression, huge monster, anxiety. Some of us may have a monster in our marriage, not your wife or your husband, but the relationship between you and them may be monstrous, right? We may have the monster of cancer, God forbid, or other ailments, other sicknesses. Right now, there is a powerful monster, at least within the narrative. The COVID virus out there is monstrous. It's destroyed our economy and our world. I just saw today that there was a little while ago, there was a shooting at the U.S. Capitol. Someone was shot. I guess I didn't read the story of it, trying to break in or something, and they shot the person outside the U.S. Capitol. I think they killed the person. So some of you may say that there are monsters in office, and maybe there are. I mean, there may be monsters in. There are so many monsters in so many facets of life. We all have them. Yours may be very different from mine. And mine are certainly very different from yours, but they are, like I said, nonetheless as real as if they were mythic beasts, dragons and Godzillas flying about. They're scary sometimes. Maybe even that's one itself, is that fear itself may even be a monster. And so Christ has shown us, I get it. You have monsters. The biggest one, you don't have to worry about death. I took care of it, says Jesus. But your monsters, depression, angst in the world and through the governments, viruses and cancers and marital strife and whatever it may be, your monsters, you too can conquer them. You too can be where I be, in this victorious place of an empty tomb, if you deny yourself and take up your own cross, right? There's no sword he's going to give you. There's no army he's going to send you. There's no angel that he's going to come to wave a magic wand like Tinkerbell and make everything all better for you. That's not how Christ works. You want it? Great, he says. I'll give you the path, but it's through the cross. And as we celebrate the crucifixion today, we commemorate the Lord's victory over sin and death, and also find ourselves at that moment of reckoning when we're called into action to do the same thing. Now, here's the good news. Here's the great news, I promise. If you do that, if you live a crucifixional life, a life which sacrifices my own will in order to put God's will first, you're going to find yourself victorious over those monsters, whatever they may be. Not easy, but you're going to find yourself victorious over them. I promise you that's how it works. And so we want to help in this, in life that is this continuous battle, this continuous surge to conquer and fight the monsters that we see out there. We need some training and we need some help. We need to become, truly, we need to become, think about this, because you're fighting monsters, you've got to be a warrior saint. I mean, that's the whole point. That's the whole reason we named our movement the Warrior Saints Movement, because you got to be a warrior and you got to duke it out, but you also have to be a saint, a man and a woman of God, right? And that combination is something that we help teach. We help teach people to become, and we're striving to become in our own lives, to become warrior saints, fighters who love God or who fight for the sake of the name of God. Do you understand? That's the point of the message. That's the meaning. And so we invite you, strongly encourage you, whatever you want to say, we invite you to join us in this movement. I promise you, Christ's way works. We are helping to teach you and I how to implement Christ's way in our lives so that we can conquer any and all of the monsters through God's help and through God's grace. So visit us at warriorsaints.org. It's pretty simple. You can get the book there for sure. But more importantly, join the library, subscribe, become a part of the movement, become a warrior saint. It's very easy. warriorsaints.org, and subscribe to the way of the warrior saint. I hope that all of our Western brothers and sisters, those who are Protestant and Roman Catholic Christians, have a beautiful, peaceful Good Friday. We wish you a blessed Easter coming up in the next couple of days. And in the Orthodox Church, we say Christ is risen. For all of our Orthodox brothers and sisters, we still got a few weeks to go, but we're getting there. We're gonna celebrate as well in just a couple of weeks. We will be back Sunday at 9 and 10 a.m. respectively for Orthros and Divine Liturgy. And of course, we will continue our live stream next week. I'm not sure if I've got the time yet to be ready for it, but we're going to do a series on monsters. So that's forthcoming. Love you, beautiful people. Have a great weekend. Again, Christ is risen to all of our Western brothers and sisters. And until Sunday, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.